Good morning, Cedars Church family, coming at you again with another word of encouragement to start your day. Have you ever considered what it must be like to lose one of your five senses? There's people I know who have no sense of taste, and it certainly makes eating a lot less fun. They tend to go for texture. Some people lose the ability to feel certain things. Maybe it's a cut nerve that causes them to not be able to feel certain areas, or paralysis. Uh, People who are deaf, they have a hard time communicating with one another. Myself, I have something called anosmia. I have no sense of smell. I was born that way, and I've never been able to smell. In fact, there was a time when I was at a party and they had a rose water drink, a sweet rose water drink, and I must have had about a gallon of the stuff because for the first time I felt like I was able to taste what a rose smelled like because I just don't comprehend what it must be to smell. And it's sad. It's debilitating. There are times where people will say, "Oh, well, you don't have to smell the nasty stuff, right? You don't have to smell dog poop. You don't have to smell people's gas or things along those lines." But that's kind of like saying that it's good for blind people because they don't have to look at ugly people. It just doesn't work the same way. So it's a bummer to not have it, but it's far less debilitating than being blind. Have you ever considered what it must be like to be blind? It's, I think, probably one of the most debilitating senses to lose. In John chapter 9, Jesus is traveling with his disciples and they come across a blind man, and they're trying to figure out, like, why is he blind? Why is this man blind? Did somebody sin? Did he sin? Did somebody else sin? And Jesus says, you know what? He's blind not because he sinned, not because his parents sinned, but because that this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. He has been blind his entire life so that God can put his power on him. He can conduct a miracle. Jesus is going to conduct a miracle on this man, and God is going to show his power. Have you ever considered that the trials, the struggles, the things that we endure are there in our lives because God has a plan to bless us later, to do something mighty in us later? We don't know when that's going to be. And this man had no idea that one day Jesus, the Messiah, was going to come and touch him and help him to see. So then Jesus goes on to say, he says, as long as it's day, we must do the works of him who sent me. But night is coming when no man can work. It's important for us to engage in ministry while we can. We will not always be free. And some people are not free to engage in ministry. Some people engage in ministry under threat of their government. And he says, though, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. While he is here, as God as man, until he comes to that point of his death on a cross and his resurrection, uh, he is the light of the world while he is here in the world. And so he says, after saying this, he spit on the ground and he made some mud with the saliva and he put it on the man's eyes. And he said, go wash in the pool of Siloam. I love that. Go wash in the pool of Siloam, because Siloam means sent. Go wash in the pool of the one who is sent. Jesus was sent by God and sent by God even to this man on this day. And so the man went and washed and he came home seeing. So the man got to see finally. What's interesting is we're all familiar with the famous hymn, "Amazing Grace." How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Being able to see has always been a parallel with our salvation. It's always been being able to see, losing our blindness and being able to see. is a sign of someone who is saved, who now sees God, who can see God in a whole new light. While we're in this world and living in this world and focused on this world, it is truly a blindness. And God instead lets us see. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, he refers to it as removing the veil so that we can see God in all of his glory. So once you've been saved, if you're here and you're saved, number one, consider the fact that all the struggles that you go through, like this blind man, consider that all those struggles that you've gone through might be in your life for a reason, that God can show his glory in your life at a later date. Number two, if you are blind and then now you can see, would it not be foolish to cover your eyes with your hands? To start walking around with your eyes shut? If you are someone who is saved and you are now able to see and you are now able to understand spiritual things, it would be foolish to go back to being blind. It's important for us to understand what it means to truly see, to truly have the veil lifted, to truly, having been blind, to understand what it is to see. I guarantee you, this man didn't shut his eyes. He probably didn't bother to blink for a long time. If you're saved and if you're not blind anymore, don't close your eyes. Dig in deep and find out what it means to truly have spiritual sight, something I'm going to want to focus on this week. Well, God bless you. Have yourselves a great day. And remember, you are loved.